All right, y'all. It might be time to wrap this NBA thing up. I think Wemby's got it. I don't know what I'm watching right now, but Wemby's got it. This man just finished with 40, 15, and 3 blocks. 40, 15, and 3 blocks in an opening day game against Cooper Flag, Anthony Davis. Against Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a perennial all-defensive guy, DPOY candidate, and he is putting him on a blender. Step back in 3. I mean, the sequences that Wemby builds up are incredible. I don't even know what to say about them. There's no way I'm seeing this guy get 2 blocks in back-to-back possessions and then put Anthony Davis on an island, cross him over, his handle is tight as can be, step back, and 1-3. There's no way. At 7'5", I mean, this guy is incredible. I lose my mind when I watch this guy. He's like a Jokic level of watch for me, where I'm sitting there and I'm speechless every time. This team is so much fun, man. Lob City 2.0. They are playing so above the rim right now, and I think that's totally their strong suit. You got guys like Stephon Castle who can jump out the gym. Keldon Johnson's doing the dirty work down there, getting up. Harrison Barnes still got a little bit of juice flowing. And Foxy, when he comes back, for sure plays above the rim. Dylan Harper. I mean, Luke Cornett even tries to play above the rim. I just think this team is going to be so much fun. And if Wemby is going to continue his play like this, which I wouldn't be surprised. You know, obviously not 40 and 15 every single night, but not much of a drop-off. I can't lie. You know, I could see Wemby averaging 30 and 13, 2 blocks. Like, this guy is incredible. The stuff that I'm watching happen on the court right now is mind-blowing to me. I never thought I would see something like this. The Mavs side of things, I thought Anthony Davis played really well, very aggressive, above the rim again. Defensively active as well. Thought he moved his feet very well. And he ended with 22 and 13. And then, you know, PJ Washington gave you some really good burn as well. I love him in his downhill situations. And he plays above the rim as well. I mean, both two teams going back and forth playing above the rim in the first, quarter and 2. And then, you know, Wemby started spazzing. And then you got to talk about Cooper as well. You know, struggle from the field, but, you know, first game. And I've been saying this about Coop this whole offseason, is the reason that I've bought so much stock into him and I think he's such an amazing player is he finished with 10 and 10 tonight. He still impacted the game with his effort and his energy. I can't lie, though. I think for this team to keep afloat before Kyrie gets back, I think Cooper really needs to develop into that facilitator role. I know Jason Kidd's talked about throwing him at point guard, and he even got some point guard minutes today when D'Angelo Russell was off the court. But I just don't think D'Lo looked very good tonight. Very lazy. You know, he had a lot of bad turnovers with Stephon Castle active in the passing lanes and whatnot. So I think for them to be successful and play above the rim again, I think, you know, there's going to need to be some guys that facilitating wise need to step up, and I think Cooper is more than capable of doing that going forward. Let's talk about Cavs Knicks to start the night too, because what a game to start on. ESPN game, feels good to have an ESPN game again. You know, the guy who really stuck out to me this entire game was Evan Mobley. I think you could just see the next progression of his game as a playmaker. He was bringing up the ball so much tonight, and a couple times he walked into some threes or broke the defender down and his handle was tight. I mean, you saw that whole evolution of that Wemby level offensive leap for him in that mold. You know, he's got the handle right now. Facilitator, he ended with 3 assists, but, you know, I felt like he could have had a little bit more and set up his guys really well. Only 8 boards, but, you know, still finished with 22. I just think his development looked... The eye test did him really well tonight. Donovan Mitchell, too, I thought was phenomenal. Donovan Mitchell is one of my favorite guys in the league. Love how sound and poised he is and how he uses his body to his advantage, even as that smaller 6'1", 6'2", height, just big guard. Love how he plays, gets to his spots, just rises up against people. You got some really good Lonzo minutes as well. I thought If he is healthy and he's able to kind of, fill that role that they really need at that point guard position as a facilitator, even with Evan Mobley kind of taking that leap, that second unit could be really dangerous because they stagger their minutes a lot and keep at least Evan Mobley or Donovan Mitchell on the court at all times. And when you have Donovan Mitchell and Lonzo, or Evan Mobley and Lonzo, which they kind of ran a lot tonight, I thought those minutes looked phenomenal. They fed off each other really well, even in pick and roll situations. You can run inverted pick and rolls with them too and put Lonzo in that high post and make him make a play, and usually he does. And it's usually a pass to that coffin corner, that dunker spot, and you saw that a couple times today where he had that quick pass from the free throw line right to that dunker spot, led to an easy layup or dunk. I think going forward, this team's going to be really good. However, shout out the Knicks. Karl-Anthony Towns, another one of my favorite guys, turned it on for a little bit there. I thought OG was phenomenal for you tonight too. 14 boards, 24 points. Jalen Brunson, Mr. Clutch. That's who he is. He's the man down the clutch. Mikal was really good for you as well. Ended with 16, 6, and 5, just kind of all over the place. And shout out Landry Shamet. There's always one time per year where Landry Shamet gets on the court, plays some meaningful ball, and I'm like, man, he should be part of that rotation a little bit more. And then, kind of goes away after a little bit. But even Deuce McBride, I think, can fill that role super well, and he's going to be a huge X factor for this Knicks team. Really curious to see, going forward with Mike Brown, if they're able to be a really good regular season team. You saw them with a little bit more lineup flexibility and substitutions than we're used to seeing with a Tibbs-led team. You saw a lot of Tyler Kolek too, which, I like. Just throw your guys out there. It's regular season ball. It's all right. All right, I'm recording this while the Timberwolves and Blazers 1 minute left, and it's a 1-point game, so I'll be right back. Ooh, that boy Ant might have pushed off. I can't lie. Ooh, all right, yeah, let's talk about this game now, because Anthony Edwards, that man is that man. 41 for the boy. Shout out Julius, too. Julius played a damn good game tonight. 19 points, 6 assists, 7 boards. I thought he stuck to the game pretty well. See, this is the Julius Randle that I think the Timberwolves need. I thought Jaden McDaniels, really, you could see the development from him too, even as a ball handler. In downhill situations, his handle was tight again. And then my guy, Terrence Shannon Jr., making a huge impact on this game. 10, 5, and 5. I thought his energy was super great. Again, classic Terrence Shannon Jr., diving on loose balls, hustle plays, downhill situations. Couple 3-pointers, he looked good. He looked good. Trailblazers side of things, I think they did a lot of things right. Little things around the edges kind of lost in this game, but I think defensively they were super active tonight, and they almost took 3 charges to end the first half. Again, I've been saying it all offseason that I think this team can be a top 10, top 5 defense in this league with Donovan Clingan, Timani Kamara, Drew Holiday, all those guys over there. Offensively, Jeremy Grant was your spark plug tonight, which was unexpected. 29 points. Trailblazers have been one of those teams I've been talking about all offseason. I just love how they play both sides of the ball. Offensively, they run a lot of ghost drag screens to get their wings, like Shaden Sharp or Timani Kamara, or even Drew Holiday. They do this a couple times this game with in isolation situations, which I thought they scored off of a good amount tonight. Would have liked to see a little bit more from Shaden Sharp, can't lie. I thought Donovan Clingan was looking good. He shot the 3 a couple times. I love when he shoots the 3 a lot. The jumper looks good. The Trailblazers are my team that I kind of have an inside source with one of my best friends working for them. And he's been saying to me that I would love Blake Wesley as a player. And he's not wrong. The guy is super quick. He's been saying that he's going to get some burn, especially with Scoot out to start the season. So super intrigued with him as a prospect right now. Haven't really watched much of him besides some preseason stuff and tonight. And it's so hard to keep up with all these games. There was a couple games that I didn't get to watch as much as I really wanted to. Heat Magic were one of them that I was kind of poking around in and out of. But I really liked what I saw from Tristan da Silva in the minutes that he had. I think he finished with 16 points. Good spark plug off the bench. A little bit of disappointed Anthony Black's performance, but It's one game, doesn't really matter. I think he had a pretty impactful 20 minutes or so. Desmond Bane looked great. Again, just a seamless fit with this organization. Him, Paulo, and Franz with just stellar games, and it looks like they can just work off each other so well. I'm so excited to watch this team going forward. The Heat kind of surprised me too. I kind of forgot all the injuries they were dealing with, but shout out Norman Powell, because that guy is a bucket. Fun watch. I just think this is a perfect situation and team for a guy like him too, where, they're not really that good. They probably won't really be that good competing for anything in the East. Maybe besides like a play-in spot. But that is a guy who I would want on my team if I'm fighting for a play-in spot, because guy can flat out hoop and he can win you a couple games. I thought Andrew Wiggins played pretty well too. Davion Mitchell's been a guy throughout the last couple years too that I have been super intrigued with as a prospect. Even with the Kings, I really liked what he could bring defensively. And then with the Raptors, you kind of saw his offensive leap in situations where he hit some big-time shots. And even last year for the Heat, I thought he was pretty good. Tonight, you saw him be an all-around guy, 16, 12, and 6. Played big-time minutes for them, 35 minutes. Really intrigued with him going forward, if this is something that he can kind of maintain. He's a guy that I've been intrigued with, I've wanted to talk about, wanted to commit to, but I just feel like this Miami Heat organization is a little bit weird with how they run their lineups and their guys sometimes. Like, Kel'el Ware only got 14 minutes tonight. If I was a coach of the Miami Heat, this guy would start on my team. 14 minutes, can't make too much of an impact. Another game that I was pretty locked into were the Raptors versus Hawks. Especially that first half, you saw a lot from Jalen Johnson, Zachary Ricochet too. I thought he looked super confident. I really liked what I saw from him. And again, same with Jalen Johnson. I think those downhill situations, just taking advantage of your size and, having a weaker defender on you and going at them, attacking the rim, I thought they did a phenomenal job. But they really shit the bed in that second half. The Raptors are my sneaky team, man. I thought they looked really good. Jamal Shedd's a guy who I think is an X factor for this team as well. Little iffy on Emmanuel Quickly as a guy. But I really like some Jamal Shedd at that guard play. But I think they have a bunch of guys who can handle that point guard, bring up the ball situations. RJ Barrett played phenomenal. I've been a huge RJ Barrett guy for a little bit now. He goes through his stretches where you're like, why did you make that play? But it still always equates to at least an 18, 6, and 5 stat line. The guy fills up the stat sheet. I think he's pretty underrated at this point of his career. His turnovers could kind of, dwindle down a little bit. I think that's the next progression for him. Scotty Barnes played really well. Brandon Ingram, I thought, looked good for, first time seeing him play basketball in a little bit now. And Grady Dick, too, with 21 points. Really excited to see his progression on this team as well, especially as a shooter. I feel like that's where this team might struggle a little bit, is on the three-point arc. But I think he provides that for them, and he had 21 tonight, good spark for them. This was a pretty good game overall. Sixers versus the Celtics, man. Shout out the Sixers pulling out this win. This is a good one for them. With a Joel Embiid looking as bad as I've ever seen him, to be honest with you. I mean, he looked like he did not belong out there. He couldn't even jump off the ground. Really sad sight to see him kind of play like this and look that visibly injured after an offseason where, talks of him slimming down and being quicker on his feet a little bit to maybe help with that injury proneness that's been happening the last couple years. I just don't see it. I mean, it's one game, but what we saw was not very pretty. However, what we did see that was pretty was some Tyrese Maxey and some VJ Edgecombe. 3-point snipers. I mean, this is a new-aged Sixers team where they're jacking threes up. I think VJ had 13 attempted threes. And then I think Tyrese Maxey went 7 for 8. Full clip. They're going all in on the three-point shot, which I can totally respect. This is the new run-and-gun style for this team. I think they got a lot here that I like. I mean, VJ played 42 minutes this game, which was the most on the team. I think his usage rate was insane for his first game ever. For him to drop 34 in his opening game is so good for him. I think has all the tools, like I said in the offseason video. He has all the tools to be as good as he really wants to be in this league. I think he's an all-star type of level guy. Again, he's got Paul George, which is kind of his mentor on the bench when he gets healthy. He can kind of develop in that role. I think there's a lot of similarities there with, prime Paul George and VJ. Defensively, athletically, offensively, just a bucket. I mean, this was a huge win for them. On the Celtics side of things, didn't see much that I really liked, to be honest with you. No Jordan Walsh minutes for me is a little upsetting. I think he's one of the more intriguing, young guys on this roster, and I hope as the season develops, he can kind of find his way into that rotation. Don't love to see some Luka Garza minutes, I'll tell you that. Didn't really like what I saw from Josh Manoy either, so it would have been fun to see Jordan Walsh or even Hugo coming in that rotation instead. I thought Peyton Pritchard was fine. I thought Derek White was pretty good. Jaylen Brown was pretty good. Keita was, pretty good actually. All things considered, I still don't love how's your starting center over there, but you got to do what you got to do. And then the rest of the games were kind of back priority for me. Nets, Hornets, shout out the Hornets, full team effort on this one, but didn't really get much watch time for me on the Nets side of things. Couldn't really tell you if there was anybody here that I really liked. Didn't really get to watch Pels Grizzlies either, but Zion with pretty good game. Really liked what I saw from Jeremiah Fears. I was kind of critical of the pick myself because I just think New Orleans is a place where guards go to die. Dyson Daniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They had somebody else, and I can't even remember because he's out of the league, and it wasn't too long ago. But I just think talented guards go there to die, and he looked aggressive tonight. He looked good. I hope he can break that cycle. Still interested in Jordan Hawkins as a prospect over there too. Hunter Dickinson getting his minutes surprised me. I was like, oh my god, I didn't even know he was in the league. Shout out Hunter Dickinson. Grizzlies side of things, Jaw Spaz, that's all I know. I'll have to go back and kind of watch all of his highlights and whatnot and what happened throughout that game because, that's a pretty good matchup in my opinion. And in the last 3 games that I didn't get to watch at all were the Pistons Bulls, Wizards Bucks, Clippers Jazz, or Kings Suns. Clippers Jazz was interesting for a while because the Jazz were blowing the Clippers out at halftime. So I'll have to go back and watch that. People were saying on Twitter that it was the most efficient half that they've seen out of a basketball team, which is such a Jazz thing to do. I feel like they always start we're going into the season, they're this team is going to be bad. They're going to be rebuilding, bottom of the totem pole team. And they come out for the first 10 games, 15 games, and we're the Jazz are in the play-in right now, or the Jazz are in the playoffs right now. And then they ended up shitting the bed last 3/4 of the season and whatnot. Because the Jazz sneakily have a lot that I like over there. I love me some Walker Kessler. Bryce Sensabaugh I'm a big fan of. Keontae George. Kyle Filipowski, I'm kind of excited and interested to see if he can develop into that, Lauri Markkanen type of role if they end up dishing Lauri off to, some team at the deadline. I think he kind of has all the same characteristics and size and spaceability as that stretch 4, maybe 5 option for you. And then Kings Suns, I didn't watch a second of. I will have to watch some Bulls Pistons because, I'm intrigued with both of these teams, honestly. Bulls aspect, I'm excited to see the growth in Montes. And Bucci Made went off tonight, so let's keep increasing that trade value so at the deadline you can get dealt to a good team and the Bulls can get some draft capital for you. And the last one, Wizards Bucks. Didn't watch a second of this, so I'm not going to talk about it, but scoreboard watching here, Giannis with 37, 14 and 5. It's Giannis. I'll have to go back and watch his highlights. I did kind of see a little bit of the sets that Doc was running for AJ Green. Super intrigued with him going forward as well, especially as that shooter. They're going to need it. But what a night for hoops, man. Again, super excited that this is back. It's really hard to keep up with all these games, so I'm sorry if I didn't get to your favorite team or whatnot. Trying to keep up, man. That's all we're doing. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever you got to do. See you next time. Peace.